Hello and welcome to the In Song and Story series. This is number 6 and April is almost over. Who would have believed we'd still be as quarantined as we are? And most of us, some people are still out, but May is almost upon us. Well, we hope we see an end to this thing sooner rather than later. So, but thank you for stopping in. Same format, 3 songs. And the first song is called Where You Happen to Be. This is home. Home is where the heart is. I know that's an old kind of proverb, but it is true. And my home is here in Savannah, as you know, and of course Drogheda on the east coast of Ireland. And I do want to thank the people on Facebook, especially the people who tune in and watch the Drogheda Down Memory Lane Facebook page. It's a great page. And I've been getting some nice correspondence from people from a long time ago. So, home is where the heart is. When all this ends, if you get the opportunity to take a trip over to Ireland, do go and visit Drogheda, and especially the area around it. Not only the town, but the area around it. When you go, for instance, if you go about 6 miles west along the banks of the River Boyne, you'll come to the old megalithic burial mounds at Newgrange, Nath and Douth. And Newgrange is the biggest of the 3. There are a lot of unexplored passage graves in the area, still yet to be discovered. But Newgrange is a great visit, and it's another feat of ancient technology, in that on the shortest day of the year, the shortest day of winter, the winter solstice, weather obliging, which is really quite an ask for Ireland, given the weather conditions. But just after sunrise, a shaft of sunlight comes in through what they call a window box over the entranceway, shines down the passage and lands on the burial chamber within. The burial chamber for about 17 to 19 minutes. It's the most extraordinary thing, and it's open for visitors. And then if you go west along the river, another 2 or 3 miles, you'll come to the small village of Slane, one of my favourite spots in Ireland. And it was here on a hill over the town that St. Patrick lit the fire of Christianity in 432 AD, bringing religion to Ireland. The modern village is centred around Slane Castle. And Slane Castle is owned and lived in by the Mount Charles family. And it is also open for visits. The lawn coming down in front of the castle is like a natural amphitheatre. And so many years ago was created the Slane Concerts, and everybody has performed there. Paul McCartney has been there, Springsteen has been there, U2 have been in, the Rolling Stones. It's a kind of phenomenon. And then of late, the Mount Charles family have entered into a co-op with, I think it's either Jim Beam or Jack Daniels, not sure which, to make Slane triple distilled Irish whiskey. Very, very good for you. And that's also open for visits. So go to my part of the world next time you're in Ireland. Anyway, the song is called Where You Happen to Be. My initial thought on writing this song and the finished product were worlds apart. It just happens in songwriting. I've been to Ballybuffet and on to see the old causeway. I've strolled around old Glasgow town. New York, they say, it's just a state of mind. Been down Jamaica way and out on the wild coast of Maine. And I've spent nights in the city of lights and Rome. There's a place you just have to see. Home is where I belong. It's where I sit and write my songs. Long as you're around, I can settle down, 'cause home is where you happen to be. Sip coffee in a bar on Grafton Street. Look down from the top of the reek. And I play tunes and a session in Liston, and watch the fishing boats sail home to Oakinsale. Flew into Montreal, where I caught the first snow of the fall. now to the south of Amsterdam. Worked the graveyard shift from twilight until the early morn. But home is where I belong. It's where I sit and write my songs. Long as you're around, I can settle down, 'cause home is where you happen to be. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Long as you're around, I can settle down, 'cause home is where you happen to be. Down in the Caribbean Sea, a paradise made for you and me. Oh, I'd love to watch you there with a flower in your hair, 'cause anywhere's home to me, long as you are there. Home is where I belong. It's where I sit and write my songs. Long as you're around, I can settle down, 'cause home is where you happen. It's where you happen. Home is where you happen to be. Home is where you happen to be. And I was talking to my good friend this morning, Father Liam Collins. We take Celtic spirituality tours to Ireland, and he's from Neidin, County Tipperary. And we were talking about the bond between Sláinte, the bond between America and Ireland. And it's a bond that really cannot be overstated, the closeness of the two countries. And throughout the history of the United States, Ireland has been involved to a large degree. For instance, some years ago, we took our tour down to County Carlow in the middle of Ireland, a beautiful little county, to a place called Leighlin Bridge. It's spelled Leighlin, Leighlin, Leighlin Bridge, but it's pronounced Leighlin Bridge. I don't know why. It's a little bit like the Igor scene in Young Frankenstein. Anyway, when we're down there, I had read up on the little village on the River Barrow, and there was a man born there in 1860, a man named Miles Keogh. And when Miles Keogh, in 1840, and 20 years of age in 1860, he found himself in Italy, fighting for for Pope Pius IX in the Papal Wars against Garibaldi. And when he was fighting these wars, he won 2 medals for valor. One was called the Pro Petri Sede medal, and the other was a cross of the Knights of St. Gregory the Great. And then he was recruited by the Union Army to come over and fight in the American Civil War. He came over along with some of his countrymen and as a captain, and he fought under General McClellan. He fought in Antietam, and then he moved on to serve under General John Buford. And under his command, Miles Keogh fought at Fredericksburg and at Gettysburg. And at the end of the Civil War, he decided to stay in the American Army, and he was assigned to the 7th Cavalry as captain. And there he stayed, and he was under George Armstrong Custer. And he died, Miles Keogh died at the Battle of Little Bighorn in June of 1876. His and George Custer's were the only 2 bodies that the American native tribes did not mutilate. And the thought is that they thought Custer was a very valiant soldier. They thought the same of Miles Keogh, but he also was wearing the Papal medal when he was killed. And a lot of the American Indian tribes had converted to Catholicism. So his body was not mutilated. It was stripped, but not mutilated. His horse, Comanche, it was the only U.S. military survivor, official military survivor of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Other horses did live but were destroyed on the scene. Comanche was nursed back to health and considered to be a regimental mascot for the rest of his life. After the horse died, he was offered the services of a taxidermist, which is to say he was stuffed and he is now on display at the University of Natural Museum in Kansas, the University of Kansas, Natural History Museum, Comanche. And the end of the little story, just to round it all up, is that Chief Sitting Bull, when he was killed, it's reported that he was wearing around his neck the papal medal for valor, presumed to have belonged to Miles Keogh. So it's a great little kind of tie-in between American history and Irish history. And I love that little story. Anyway, here's a song. The Irish seem to have permeated everywhere we went. We kind of, we wound our way in. And this is a song that's steeped in the jazz tradition. This was a hit for Louis Armstrong in 1928. But the ancestor of this song may well have been an old English ballad called The Unfortunate Son or The Unfortunate Rake. There was an 18th century ballad, and there are many variations of this particular ballad, one of which is The Streets of Laredo, the other is The Lock Hospital, and another is The Bard of Armagh. A lot of these songs have the same kind of theme, about, especially about 6 gamblers to bury my body. So this may have been an English-Irish folk song before it entered the jazz tradition. It's called the St. James Infirmary Blues. Was down in old Joe's barroom at the corner of the square. Drinks they were served as usual, and the usual crowd was there. On my left stood Big Joe Kennedy. His eyes, they were bloodshot red. Looked at the gang all around him, and these were the very words that he said. I went down St. James Infirmary, saw my baby there. She was stretched on a long white table, so cold, so pale, so fair. I went up to see the doctor. She's very low, he said. Went back to see my baby, and great God, she was lying there dead. Let her go, God bless her, wherever she may be. She may search this wide world over, but she'll never find another man like me. When I die, please bury me in my high-top Stetson hat. Put a gold piece on my watch chain, so the boys should know I died standing pat. Get 6 gamblers to carry my coffin, 6 chorus girls will sing my song. Put a jazz band on my tailgate to raise hell as we roll along. This is the end of my story, so let's have another round of booze. And if anyone should ask you, just tell them I got the St. James Infirmary Blues. St. James Infirmary Blues. Okay, we've got one more song, and I do want to mention at this point in time, and I know everybody has been, people are kind, people have been and are kind to each other, so please continue that trend. We are contriving to put together a live broadcast on Mother's Day, that will go out live on Mother's Day. In 1980, on Mother's Day, 40 years ago, on that particular day, I came to America, from Shannon Airport to New York, down to Philadelphia. And I want to commemorate that by doing a live performance, so we're kind of struggling to get that whole thing together technically. So I do hope you'll tune in and have more information on my Facebook page as the time gets a little closer. Here's a song from the writing of Jimmy MacCarthy. There's a beautiful town down in the southwest of Ireland, the town of Kenmare. In the Irish language, Kenmare is Neidin. It's also a girl's name at this point in time. But Jimmy writes about leaving that part of the country and coming across the Atlantic Ocean, across what he calls the Silver Tear. And in the song, the purple splashed on green would be the heather up on the hillside overlooking the town. A great song. Thank you once again for stopping in to spend some time with me. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe and stay well out there. As I leave behind Neidin, it's like purple splashed on green. My soul is strangely fed through the winding hills ahead, and she plays a melody on wind and stream for me. Won't you remember, won't you remember, won't you remember me? And we wind and climb and fall like the greatest waltz of all. Float across the floor, her sweet breath outside the door. And it's time that I was gone, across the silver tear. Won't you remember, won't you remember, won't you remember me? Won't you remember, won't you remember, won't you remember me? As I leave behind Neidin, in the hall where we have been, rhododendrons in her hair, in the mountain-scented air, I still feel her spirit song across the silver tear. Won't you remember, won't you remember, won't you remember me? Won't you remember, won't you remember, won't you remember me? As I leave behind Neidin, thank you very much. Good night and God bless.